So we are here. It's just me, CrunkChocolate. I am here with Joe from Turfcast. How's it
Yeah,
going?
good. Thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for coming on. You are officially a first guest for our yet to be named segment. I'm gonna try to let our listener, Shady Gang, name the segment, but sometimes when you leave, the other people to naming something, it could end up really bad. So we're gonna see how this goes. It could go
Yeah,
well, could go
yeah,
well, could go bad. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm here to talk to you about Burnley overall, but more importantly, the upcoming City versus Burnley match for the new season, season three. We would like to chat with a lot of the minds from the teams that we're about to
yeah.
play instead of us sometimes just talking out of our butts or just saying what we think we perceive, especially as Burnley, you guys were promoted. Uh, there's so much we don't really know. I mean, we know a few things. We sent a few people your way. You have one of our best players of all time as your
Yeah.
manager. That is where the peace comes, and I'm very happy for you guys. Before company, I mean this in the nicest way. I could have cared less
Yeah.
about you guys, but now that you guys have company, I'm just like,
I,
go
th- I, th-
Burnley, except
I,
for just don't make things worse for
yeah. I
us.
think, I think, I think a lot of the Premier League would probably say that. Like, it was just the way that Burnley played football that people didn't like. Arsenal fans, especially. Like, I had a few not run-ins, but with that sort of like I'd see like the guys on AFTV like constantly criticizing Burnley and stuff, especially. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Always done really good stuff with AFTV, by the way, and I love the stuff that they do, especially the blogs out in the US. Actually, I've been watching that all summer. But them especially, Ty, that's the guy, Ty. It'd always be like, oh, Burnley, I hate the way Burnley play football, but it's going to be different this time. Like, obviously, people won't, especially on your podcast, obviously treble winners, won't have watched too much of the Championship last year, but Burnley are different now. Burnley aren't going to come up and stink stadiums out. Burnley are going to come up and we're going to attack teams and we're going to play football.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, against teams like Man City, that might mean we end up getting beat 4-5-0, but we get beat 4-5-6-0 every time we play Man City anyway. So, but it's Burnley are going to be different this season, and a lot of people will be getting their first taste of this new Burnley now, because I know a lot of Premier League fans don't bother with the Championship, so they want to see what we do or did last season in the Championship. But yeah, a lot of people will be shocked at the way that we do things this season.
Yeah, Burnley, like you said, turning heads with the company move and the way that you play. I have noticed that. I watched a few matches, especially when if City wasn't playing and Burnley was playing, I was like, yeah, let's totally watch. Let's see what they're doing. Again, you had a few of our City players,
Yeah,
so I wanted to see how they were doing. I very much it looks very familiar to us,
it's a very
obviously,
similar style. Yeah, he's
because of
obviously
company.
taking inspiration
Yes,
from Pep. Yeah.
yeah, and I want to actually start with company. And one, I guess I don't was Was the name company popping up? Was that a surprise? How did you feel with him coming in? And I mean, honestly, how are you feeling now that you guys have been
Yeah,
promoted?
well, just going back to the first part of that question, when it was there was some rumours that we were getting a big name, and then the name company popped up, and everyone was like, "No chance, no chance." Why would Vincent Company come to Burnley? But this was before the end of last season, because obviously we got rid of Daesh on, I think it was Good Friday, and then we brought in the two assistant managers, the two interim managers. And then the rumours started already then. And everyone's like, oh, Vincent Kompany's looking at coming to Burnley, but only if they stay in the Premier League. And then we got relegated, obviously. So everyone's like, well, Kompany won't come now. And then the rumours came out a couple of weeks later that, Vincent's still interested, apparently. And everyone's like, I don't believe that for a second. But then a picture of him popped up in a pub in a nearby town. I think it's Earby. It was Earby in a pub there with a Burnley fan. And someone sent it the Turfcast podcast Twitter page. So we had like this big exclusive thing. And I put it out, and everyone's like, that's photoshopped. There's no way that's real. There's no way that you can tell. Apparently, people were saying his hands were too white. It's like, you forgot to Photoshop his hands. I was like, I haven't Photoshopped anything. So then everyone's kicking off saying I'm creating this fake thing. It wasn't. It was a real picture. And the guy that sent me the picture, like how on iPhones you can get live pictures now. The guy sent
Mhm.
me the live of the picture. He screen recorded the live. And then people were still going, no, that's bullshit. I'm like, I don't know what more to do. But anyway, a couple of days later,
Love it.
it came out official. So I'm like, thank you. But yeah, everyone were buzzing. I say everyone, the majority of the fan base were buzzing. There are a few people going, oh, it's a bit of a risk. He's not had that much experience. He didn't do too well at Anderlecht. Well, that was the consensus that he didn't do too well at Anderlecht. But then I spoke to some Belgian journalists, had him on the podcast, and they were like, look, he actually did really well at Anderlecht because they had some financial issues at Anderlecht. I think the problem at Anderlecht was he steadied the ship at Anderlecht because they were in turmoil and slipping down the league. He steadied the ship, got them up to like third, fourth, but then they sort of like stagnated there and didn't kick on. Anderlecht wanted them to then go and kick on and start challenging for titles, and unfortunately they didn't, and that's why they came to this agreement where he would leave. But yeah, obviously, like now we're all met up with him. I did some work with a bookmaker, a local bookmakers, like a bookmakers in this country that you might be aware of them. I won't mention them just in case you've got any other sponsorships on your side, but they sponsor the championship. But I did some work with them, and they did what they call a fan survey. And it was like 99% of Burnley fans are happy with Vincent Kompany. And I was shocked that it wasn't 100%. Like, I was like, who is the one guy that said, I am, no, I don't like him.
Point them
exactly. I
out.
was like, I literally said to the people who organised it, I'm like, there's no way a Burnley fan has said, I don't like Vincent Kompany. Like, you snuck a Blackburn fan in here without realising. But yeah, obviously the consensus is now that we're all very happy. Like, on a personal level, I'm 35 years old. I know I don't look it. And I'm 35 years old, and last season was my best ever season following Burnley. Like, my favourite ever season, should I say. Obviously, we've finished higher. Like, we finished 7th under Dyche, finished like 9th and 10th under Dyche. I watched us, albeit very briefly, play in Europe. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed that because I did go to 2 of the away games. Fantastic. But as an entire season, last season was my favourite ever. Not only the style of play, but the complete rebuild, all these new players that you now love all of a sudden. Like, I'd never heard of Manuel Benson this time last year. Now I would name my second child after him. You know what I mean? Like, it's the turnaround is just insane. And then obviously we beat Blackburn 3-0, beat Preston 3-0, beat Wigan 5-1. Then we went and actually won the league at Blackburn Rovers, like our main rivals. That's like you winning the Premier League, obviously at Old Trafford. Like, it's just unheard of. It was my favourite ever season, and I don't think how it'll be topped. So yeah, it's fantastic, and this is the most excited I've ever been going into a Premier League season since probably our first ever Premier League season. Because back then it was like, oh my god, Burnley the Premier League, but I was never really overly excited about a Premier League season under Dyche because you just knew or thought, should I say, because a lot of times we did finish in the top half actually, but you'd always be looking over your shoulder. Whereas now I'm looking at how high we can finish. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be unrealistic and say we're going to finish sixth. But, I'm thinking maybe knocking on the door of that top half, probably ultimately settling just for around 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, somewhere like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that seems very attainable to me. And that the bottom half of that Premier League, I think y'all are gonna have a lot of fun because there are gonna be a lot of teams who
There's some
think
bad
that they
teams
can play
down
with
there
you
this
guys,
season.
and they're gonna that y'all will. I think you're gonna run a few people out of the pitch, and hopefully some of these other teams in the top six, top eight. I would love to see that all day. All right, well, let's talk about the off season, the transfer window, real quick. Who were there any like in signings, transfers in, transfers out that maybe you want to give a quick
Yeah,
attention
well,
to?
there's been quite a bit of activity. Again, there always is since the new chairman's come in. The old chairman, it was a case of we might get linked to one 38-year-old, and then get him on loan on the last day of the window. Danny Drinkwater springs to mind. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of activity to the point where I'll probably forget some names. But the guy that was labelled as the Swiss Lionel Messi, he's come in. He's called Zeki Amdouni. He looks a talent. We've got a young Italian-American lad called Luca Coglioscio. He looks absolutely rapid. He's like Roadrunner, so fast. So I'm excited for that. The main activity seems to be starting this week. Don't get me wrong, we've done a lot of business, but we're looking like we're going to get Sander Berg from Sheffield United through the window over the next couple of days. He's a good player. And
Yeah.
my main concerns, despite every player that we've signed so far over the last 3 windows, is centre midfield. because Jack Cork's a bit old. Ashley Westwood has left. Josh Brownhill's good, but he's, in my opinion, you need him further forward, sort of like in like a number 10 sort of role. And Goodmanson can play there, but he's more of a wide player. But we've got better wide players now. Whereas Josh Cullen, he's fantastic, but he's currently injured, so he will probably miss the game against City. So we needed a central midfielder, not just because of the Cullen injury, but somebody to play alongside Cullen. Because I think Cork's legs have gone. I love Cork, but I think his legs have gone. I think a Premier League season might be a bit much for him. So he's a good one to bring in. Aaron Ramsey, no, not the Welsh one, the young English lad at Villa. He's going to be signed over the next couple of days as well, and he's another like forward. I think he's a winger, but he's like a very good one. He's quite young. Not sure how young he is off the top of my head. I have written a few articles on it, so I should remember. But he should be coming in. So yeah, there's some good business. We've brought in a new goalkeeper in James Trafford, but Arian Muric, who we actually got off you this time last year, I think he'll probably keep his place as the number one who doesn't wear number one. I think he wears number 49, but I think he will be the goalkeeper that we start with on Friday against you guys. But yeah, a lot of new faces again. So it took us actually a while to gel last year. We might not get that luxury in the Prem. So fingers crossed they gel quite quickly.
Well, you mentioned it already. How are you feeling about Burnley's chances in the Premier League? You sounded pretty confident. Middle, potentially the bottom of the top half. That would be like if my team was recently promoted. That would be super exciting to me if we ended up 8th, 10th, 12th. Obviously, I'm sure the minimum is don't get relegated, but I don't even think that should be a problem for you guys.
Yeah, I mean that is the first target. Get to 40 points. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, a lot of us do think we will do quite well this season, but that is always the first target. My worry is our start to the season, because it's you guys that, with the greatest respect to Burnley in the world, that's a defeat. No matter how well we play. Then after that, there's a week off because we were supposed to be playing Luton, but due to their stadium upgrades, that's been called off. So that was, in my eyes, a potential 3 points. But a lot of Burnley fans will be saying, it's good that, because they'll be well up for that. So I'm glad that's been called off. Then after that, we've got Villa, who I think might even sneak into the top 6 this season. They've done very well, some very good business. Then after that, Spurs. Now, that's the easiest game of the 3, admittedly, in my opinion. But I think I'll be happy with. But if we got 2 points out of them 3 games, I'd be buzzing, because that means obviously we've avoided defeat twice. If we can get 1 win, maybe against Spurs, then again I'll be buzzing. But my worry is, because the season we went down, we started slowly and then we were playing catch up, and then you're making a lot of mistakes because you're under pressure. This is a new, young, inexperienced squad. So if we do start getting behind, mistakes will creep in. I'm not sure how they'll handle the pressure. So that's my only worry. But I was on the overlap yesterday, and I said the same. I think we'll be all right. I do think we'll be all right. I think Sheffield United finished bottom, Luton second bottom. I think they'll start well, then fade. And then I'm thinking Wolves third bottom, potentially even Everton, maybe Bournemouth, Forest as well. But I think we start slowly, then eventually pull away from danger and finish. Like I said, I've got us somewhere between 11th and 14th. Potentially at little points knocking on the top half door, but ultimately just slowly fading away, and we'll take it. Of course, we'll take it, and then kick on next season. Like, the main worry for us as well is that how long does Kompany stay? Because
that was going to be my next. That was going to be my next.
Well, we'll get onto it in a second then. But his ceiling is so high; like, he can achieve so much as a manager in the game.
Yeah, he's well. First, I think Sheffield, Luton, and Wolves will get relegated. So we're on similar ideas. Pep leaves in 2 seasons. That is when his contract ends, the end of the 2025 season. Pep has been asked a lot about Kompany, and Pep isn't. What he specifically said is Kompany would be perfect to take my spot after I leave. Kompany would be a great, like, that's just all he kept saying. He's like, that would be a great choice, but he has to make the decision. And usually when stuff like that happens, the current manager either plays coy or something. It was jarring for him to almost just, he's being like he was. He's just being cheeky. He's just like, I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. I don't know. It's up to him. And that that had me gasp because Company was the first City shirt I ever bought. It's tattered to this day. I still wear it all the time. I love it. Uh, him at City, that would be a dream. But then again, that would be a bummer for you guys because can see what he can do for Burnley, and hopefully maybe the success that he gets with Burnley could help you then continue your solid managers. Because I don't ever want you to go back to Sean Dyche, like not even like him specifically, but even like that style of
Yeah.
manager that just like where you're grinding a 1-0 win if you're lucky, and no fan deserves to experience
Yeah,
that. Nobody,
I
in
can't.
my
I
opinion.
can't see us going back to that now. To be honest, under the new board, they're American owners. They've got a different sort of like thinking to our previous board. They're all about marketing and changing Burnley's image. Like they want Burnley to be seen in a different light. So I think they'll always go for these young up and coming sort of like expansive open play managers. But yeah, just going back to your point about Company. I'd be buzzing if we got another 2 seasons out of him. I'd be happy with that. Genuinely, I was worried after this summer when Tottenham were looking at him. I thought if Tottenham make a move here, then we could be struggling. But if there's a gentleman's agreement in place that he replaces Pep in 2 years, then I'll take that. Because then what's the point in him going somewhere like a medium club like in between Burnley and City? There's no point because he knows he's going to get the City job. So there's no point in him going somewhere else to prove himself. Like he doesn't need to. He's proved himself at Burnley. If we do well for the next 2 seasons, who knows? Like it might be a bit of a fantasy this, but if we finish 11th this season and then maybe finish 8th the seasons after and maybe get win some silverware, like that's the one thing I do want to see Burnley do in my lifetime. Like I'm not going to see them win the Premier League. There's too much money now. So hopefully I do get to see him lift a major trophy at some point. That's the one thing. Like I've seen us beat Man United, I've seen us beat you guys, I've seen us beat Liverpool, Arsenal. We've done it all. We've been to Europe. That's the one thing we haven't done. Won silverware in my lifetime. The Championship, all right, yeah, that's nice winning that, but it's not a major honour, is it? So FA Cup or League Cup, please, and then he goes with my blessing. He go with my blessing anyway. If we get another 2 years out of him, I think we've done very, very well because that'd be 3 years overall. And to have one of the brightest, well, in my opinion, the brightest young manager in the world at the minute, the best up and coming manager in the world, to have him for 3 years before he goes on to lift titles, because I think he lifts titles in this country. If he wants to lift them in Belgium or another country, I think he can. And I think he could potentially even manage Belgium at a World Cup. So I think his ceiling is unlimited. I think he will go on to do great things as a manager in the game, just like he did as a player.
I mean, that's a beautiful thing to hear. Well, let's get to the upcoming match, City versus Burnley. How are you feeling about the match? I guess who would be two things? Who would be a player on Burnley who could hurt us, and then who is maybe, and I guess I don't want to say weak link, but maybe who's the player on Burnley that you could see City taking maybe advantage of, or maybe focusing their tactics on.
Yeah, well, the up and coming sort of like player that we could hurt you would probably be Manuel Benson, but it's looking like he's injured. There's been no official confirmation that he's injured,
Oh,
but he
bummer.
hasn't played at any point in the pre-season from the top of my head. But Anas Aurora, he's a very good player as well. He played for Morocco at the World Cup, and he was fantastic last season. Lyle Foster might have a decent start. I think he's been looking good in pre-season, but he was polarising last season. Was Lyle? So I'd probably go with Anas Aurora because I think he'll get the ball and try and run at you. I'm not sure how we start like the team that we play yet. Obviously, there's been a lot of new players coming in, and we could see Coley Oshaw playing, could see Brownhill playing further forward. So we'll see what happens with that. But the weak link, I think, at the minute, as much as I do like him, and I've sort of like tried to die on his hill before, is Charlie Taylor. Like he's a left back for us. I do like the guy, and I think he is a decent standard of left back, but he just doesn't fit our new style of play. Like he was one of our better players under Sean Dyche, but in this new company system, because the formation is quite fluid. Like the fullbacks have to come into centre back and go into midfield and things like that and get forward. He's quite good at getting forward, but it's all the moving around and stuff that I think he struggles with, and he ends up getting caught out of position. And I think you could get a lot of joy down the left hand side. That is, I was saying earlier to the transfer question about bringing in a central midfielder, how I'm a little bit happier with the business that we've done because we're bringing in Sanderberg. We still need a left back. We had Ian Matson last season. He's gone back to Chelsea. He was brilliant. Him and Taylor Harwood-Bellis, obviously we got off you for the season. They were fantastic in our back line, and Nathan Teller as well, but obviously he was further forward. They've all gone back to their parent clubs. I think Taylor Harwood-Bellis deserves to play in the Premier League, but obviously he's not going to get there with you guys, is he? There's just too many people in front of him, so it's a shame we couldn't make that one permanent or get another loan with that one. But yeah, we're going to miss Ian Matson, I think, at left back, and I think you can exploit Charlie Taylor.
Okay. Well, score prediction. If this is something that you do, I know some people aren't the biggest fans of.
Yeah, I won't mind doing it. It's just because we're playing Man City. Look, there's a running joke in Burnley that every time we play Man City, we might as well forfeit the match, because if you forfeit the match, it goes down as a 3-0 defeat. Every single time we play City, it's like 5-0. Apart from, like, look, put it this way, like, Burnley fans are fed up of Man City. Like, it's always 5-0. It's a running joke. Hey, 5-0. And then when we got relegated, the thing was, at least we don't have to play City next season. But what happens? We get to the FA Cup quarter-final and we get drawn against Man City, and everyone's like, oh, well, at least it won't be 5-0 now. And it weren't. It was 6-0. So, yeah, I'm fed up of Man City. Just get this game out of the way. I'll take a 3-0 defeat now, because that means it's better than what we have done. But no, I do think it's the good time to play here, because City do tend to start slowly. Do I think it's good enough for us to get a point? No. I think we might frighten you a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, that equalise, make it 1-1 in the 40th minute before you do turn it on and turn the screws. So, yeah, maybe something like that. City go in front, early doors, probably like 30 seconds in. Burnley equalise in the 43rd minute, and then you just think, right, I'm not having this now. We're going to turn it on. It's kind of similar to what happened last season in the FA Cup. We started well against you. I had a couple of half chances, nothing major. But I remember, because I went, and it was my little boy's first ever away game. Sorry, Parker, for that. But I mean, we were pressing you like really high. Like, Burnley don't do that against Man City normally. We'll just sit back and say, break us down. And Man City just say, we're sticking it top bin from here because we're all that good. Normally Mahrez. Thankfully, he won't be playing.
Oh, man.
But we were pressing you. And I remember at one point, I think Foden lost the ball because we were pressing him so high, and Haaland went mental. He was fuming. I'm like, Haaland's getting frustrated here. We've got him on the ropes. And literally 3 minutes later, it was 2-0 to you. I was like, for God's sake. But I think it was something like that. We'll start well, we'll press you. You might be like, whoa, what's this? But then you'll adapt to it because you sit here and then you'll beat us. So 3-1, I'm going to say.
All right. Well, I will take that. A win is a win. I'm saying this season I'm not really expecting anything crazy. I do want to try to win a fourth Premier League title in a row. That is something that United fans can't say, we did it over 2 decades ago too. That's like something they don't have.
Yeah, well, no one's ever done that before, have they? Like, literally,
exactly.
even before the Premier League, even Liverpool in the 80s never managed it. It's never been done before. I don't know. I think you are quite lucky at the minute that there isn't an out-and-out title challenger. I know people will say Arsenal are the closest, and I think they are. If Arsenal had a good striker, I think they could win the league this year. I think they're a good striker away from winning the league. But there's going to be a drop-off. From what you achieved last season, there's going to be a natural drop-off.
Yes.
I think the gap has closed between you and Arsenal. But if they had anybody apart from Kai Havertz up top, then they'd have a chance. But he couldn't hit a barn door, Kai Havertz. Like, he's a good player apart from his finishing, but his finishing is dreadful.
Yes.
So Arsenal are just a striker away, I think, from challenging you. But I do think you'll win the league, probably.
All right. Well, Joe, I really do appreciate a little bit of your time. Please let listeners know how to find you and your show.
So it's Turfcast Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, even on TikTok these days, Instagram. I got a name drop in there earlier, but I'll do it again. I was actually on the Overlap yesterday. So if you want to watch today's Overlap that they've just uploaded, you'll see me on there as well. They don't talk about Burnley a lot, admittedly, but I'm on there nonetheless. But yeah, just follow us on any of them social media channels. YouTube is the one where we put all the video content out. We do have a podcast as well that's available on all the usual podcast platforms. But if you want any Burnley stuff, just give us a follow on Twitter or YouTube. That'll be grand.
Yes. Hey, we follow them. They're a great follow. Fantastic people. Well, Thank you, Joe. I'll let you off to the rest of your day and good luck, but not the best of the luck
Yeah,
this
thank
week.
you, mate.